I'm Dr. Beth, and today we have an exciting, in-depth, and personal look into the lives of three of our most influential public figures. We have Richard Nixon here, Kate Middleton, and Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as very extroverted. I am the Pope, so I am always in the media. I help to bring about the fall of communism in most of Europe.
Great, so you would say you're extroverted.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And Kate, how would you describe yourself?
I would say, growing up, I never knew that someday I would marry William and become the future Queen of England. So I was a hard worker all through school. I came from the middle class. I'm a commoner. So my life has now changed, but all through school at the University of St. Andrews, I worked really hard, and dating William was hard and challenging, but it came. William was really good about it. He introduced me to living the life as a royal and gave me opportunities to back out if I wanted. The time that William and I dated, it really allowed me to understand myself better and get to know who I am and just realize that I'm a hard worker and everything.
Interesting. So you self-regulate.
Correct.
Okay, and Richard, what about you? How would you describe yourself?
Well, I'm a pretty shy person, so being president was all hard. I wasn't a Bill Clinton, and I wasn't out there. I did the bare minimum of speeches. When I was growing up, I grew up from a Quaker family, so we were religious. I knew I always wanted to strive to keep doing the best I could, so I worked hard in school, I worked hard for my family, and so now I'm just a president of the United States. So I got there, but it was really hard doing the speeches and all of that. I like to be alone. I like to read. I'm not big on the popular media and all that, so it was a little difficult, but I loved every minute of it.
Great. Would you say you're more introverted than extroverted?
Definitely an introvert.
Now we're going to go into an open question and ask how the past has influenced your lives. Richard, what about you?
Well, I almost died a couple of times when I was younger, when I was 34 and in high school. When I was 3, I was almost died by a horse-drawn buggy. It fell on top of me. When I was 4, I got an illness, and then when I was in high school, I also got an illness. So I was always the weak child, and I didn't like that. I wanted to be powerful and have influence over people. So being the president, I definitely think that definitely led towards it, because when you're a child and you're always getting picked on and you're the weaker one, you want to be something when you grow up. And also my mom left me when I was younger with my brother because he was sick, so she took him away for a while, for about 2 years. And so that also did with some resentment, so I had to get through those issues. But definitely the illnesses in my childhood had a big impact on who I was.
Great, interesting. What about you, Kate?
I would say that when I was younger, I switched schools rather quickly from a bullying incident that happened. I was shy, and I wouldn't stand up for myself. I was too kind to stand up for myself. And so William and I have really worked together to try to take out bullying from the schools in England and everything. And because of the bullying in my past, I think that I've become self-confident now, and I understand myself and where others who are dealing with bullying come from.
Okay. And Pope John Paul?
My mother passed away when I was 6, and before I joined the seminary, my brother and my father had died. I went to seminary during the Nazi occupation of Poland, and I was the bishop during the regime of Stalin in Poland. So I've had to deal with a lot of communistic governments. So.
Great. And that's all the time we have for today, so we'll see you next week on The Critique.
So then I said, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm flattered that you love chocolate, but I'm here strictly in a professional... What's wrong with him?
He thinks you're naked.
My shell is brown. It just looks like my milk chocolate is showing. Only a fool would think I'd actually show up naked.
So it's that kind of party. Hit it!
I'm sexy and I know it.
Alright.
Look at that body. Look at that body. Look at that body.
I work out.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Speak. I'm Dr. Stacy and I'm filling in for Dr. Beth today. Today we're talking with 3 celebrities, Katy Perry, Amanda Bynes, and Mary Kate Olsen. So, Katy Perry, how do you think just tell us a little about your personality.
Well, I like to consider myself really eccentric. I'm edgy. I like to push boundaries a lot. I push boundaries hard. I don't like to be judged. I define who I am. No one defines who I am besides myself. Really bright, vintage, spontaneous. Like to keep people on their toes. And that's about it.
So you're out there kind of person.
Out there, definitely out there.
Like that. Amanda Bynes, what about you?
Well, I'd say I'm funny. That's what I've really built my career on, and I think that I'm confident and I'm unique in my ability to act. And my passion is making people laugh and seeing that reaction when I tell a joke on stage and everyone doubles over and laughs. And when I was 7, I first performed at the Laugh Factory, and that was the scariest thing I ever had to do. But I was really reinforced by the audience, and I realized that they liked me, and that was a great feeling. So I kept doing it, and I kept making jokes, and I've gotten to where I am today. And
And Mary Kate Olsen, what about you?
I definitely like my solitude. Growing up in the spotlight has made me a very private person. I am not very emotional around people, just to kind of keep my feelings in my own personal life and out of the publicity. I usually act without consulting others. I would definitely say I'm an introvert. I can be easygoing as long as my principles aren't being compromised. And I think above all, I'm a thinker. I like to use my logic and just kind of think to myself about things and think them through. And I definitely am theoretical. I like to see how things can be improved, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons why my sister and I have had so much success in so many different areas in our lives. We've done movies and television and 4 different fashion lines, and I definitely think that's one of the reasons.
So but you still love to be alone at times?
I definitely enjoy my personal space.
I like that. Okay, so Katy Perry, what would you say has influenced you the most so far?
Well, many people know this, but I was born to 2 pastor parents, and they were extremely religious. I had never heard of anything but gospel music. That's all I knew growing up. I started singing in the church when I was 9 years old and continued all the way through 16. When I was in high school, I went over to a friend's house and we were hanging out, the girls do, and my friend put on a record and it was Queen, and it was the song Killer Queen, and my world stopped. Turned upside down. And from that point on, I knew this is what I had to do. And so, from that point on, I just decided to be who I was, and I've kind of channeled my energy through my music and defending the strict religion that I grew up in, and that it doesn't have to define who you are. And I'm able to be who I want to be, but still value my upbringing.
Do you find it hard to balance your religious views with your music?
I do. For instance, my song, I Kissed a Girl, my parents did not like it at all, but it was fun, it was edgy, it was cute, it got people's attention, and I'm an attention getter. I like to get attention, and I want to be a celebrity, and I still know at the end of the day what I believe in and what I value, and my parents still love me at the end of the day.
Okay, Amanda Bynes, what about you?
Well, I grew up in Thousand Oaks, California, to 2 parents and 2 older brothers and sisters. And I was the youngest, so of course, I was the baby of the family. I was outgoing and everything, but I always felt like I had to get the attention of my parents over my brother and sister. And my dad was a dentist, but he did stand-up comedy on the side, and I would always, listen to him, and I thought he was so funny, and I would go down in the basement and, kind of work with him on his routines, and I used that time with him to actually start my own comedy, and we worked on it together, and it was really nice to have that special time with my dad, just me and him, and it all went from there.
So you think the competition between your siblings helped you to get where you are today?
Definitely. It wasn't intentional, it wasn't very, too competitive. It was just that I needed that special time with my dad where we could work on our comedy together.
Okay. Mary Kate, what about you?
I grew up in Sherman Oaks, California with my siblings, and I definitely think that aside from my brother and sister, my twin sister Ashley and I were definitely in the spotlight more, and we were more exposed to the media, and I definitely think that's had a big influence on me. Everyone knows I've had an eating disorder before. I definitely attribute that to the media. Everyone knows that idea of like the thin body that girls are exposed to, and I think it's a really big problem in America. It almost killed me, and I'm really glad to say that I'm doing well now. So, but I think that living in the spotlight for so long and just being so young and as a celebrity has definitely had a big influence on me. I have ADHD, and that's been really difficult to cope with, and just trying to understand how different people have different like ways of thinking and dealing with that, and trying to keep your attention focused on something and a task that might not be so interesting. And whenever you're trying to design clothes, trying to just sit there and be like focused on it. And then definitely just stressful life events. It's harder when everyone knows about it and everyone knows who you are and wants to know who you're dating. When I went to NYU and dropped out of college, I think we all know why there was a boy involved, but nothing needs to be said on the record.
Well, do you think you still had a childhood growing up, since you had been in the spotlight since you were about 1 year old? Do you think?
I definitely had a childhood. Like I said, I had another brother and sister who weren't really into the film, and I mean they were in a few videos and stuff, but they weren't like on a television sitcom as long as we were in. So we definitely got to like have our family time and our normal childhood. So I definitely was.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all so much for coming in. Watch us next time on The Critique.
Political. What is it? How the past has influenced these people. Is that bad?
Like, that was really weird.